I started at Fielding and Platt as an apprentice industrial photographer in August 1952. My tutor was Arthur Hickman, who was chief photographer at that time, and his assistant Eddie Collier, who was from Wales and lived in Hartpury. Arthur was a very artistic person, inasmuch he had a great painting ability, and so I had a great initiation into the artistic side of photography. Out of work, he was a great sports car enthusiast and owned a giant open-top sports car. He could always be remembered as driving from his Salisbury Road home along Barton Street with his car top open and dressed in his brash tweed jacket and deerstalker hat. I remember walking to Central School in Derby Road and daily seeing Arthur in his car and being quite amused. Little did I realise that he would eventually become my boss. Arthur eventually became Heenan Group chief photographer based at Heenan and Froude in Worcester, which gave me the opportunity to become chief photographer at Fielding and Platt, a position I held until 1974, when I joined the Gloucester Citizen newspaper. Oh, for a modern digital camera. This was me in my early days taking a photograph of a metal component on a half-plate De Vere monorail camera. All this type of photography was done with this equipment using half-plate 6 inches by 4 inch glass negatives. These were used because of the stability of the image and the fact that we had to make huge enlargements for exhibition purposes, etc. I had a staff of approximately 10 people helping me run the photography department at any one time, and print room facilities. This is a photograph of me and one of my apprentice photographers, Colin Organ, whose father, Wally Organ, was a fitter in hydraulic 2 at the time. The photo shows Colin and I stood by our huge half-plate bellow camera, which was used for making records of all drawings from the drawing office. For security reasons, you can see the light-tight spring-operated drawers where the light-sensitive negative material was kept during the copying process. A piece of film was placed under red light, safe light conditions into the negative holder at the back of the camera, and then via a foot switch the floodlights were switched on and a predetermined exposure made. This happened every time a new drawing was placed in the copying frame. The beauty of the camera was that by lifting a pivot, the camera would be rotated by 180 degrees to become an enlarger. A lamp holder was swung round to engage on the back, and a negative was slid into a slot between the light source and the lens, which threw an image of the drawing onto a piece of 40 by 30 photo paper, which again was exposed for a predetermined time and then processed by hand in a big processing dish in the darkroom adjacent to the copying room. Apart from Colin, I also had the great satisfaction of employing Pete Skelton, who came to us from Linden Road School in response for a vacancy in the department. I remember we had loads of applicants for this position from all of the county grammar schools, and I well remember Pete's interview. He came over as an enthusiastic, keen, and well-mannered lad, and so landed the job. How pleased I was to have made the right decision, because with my training in the basic technicalities in the art of photography, he excelled and fast became a brilliant photographer in his own right, of which I was very proud, and was more than pleased for him to look after the department in a relatively short time after I left in 1974. Pete and I and Colin are still great friends to this day. Apart from the big half-plate photography, we also used a Leica German 35mm camera for photographing any social records happening in the factory and outside. For example, if anyone had an accident on the premises, I've had my fair share of severe fingers in the pattern shop and cross injuries sustained elsewhere in the factory. The Leica camera was also used by me to document the social side of the company, the apprentice intakes, sports teams, interdepartmental functions, children's Christmas parties, management presentations, and of course company employees' weddings, which other members of staff and I had the privilege to attend. The photography department was also responsible for making films and brochures for promotional purposes. Heenan Group Film Unit was started by Arthur Hickman when the management decided that sound films would be a great advantage for the purpose of advertising our products to a worldwide engineering audience. Fielding and Platt made 9 films in total, and these have been seen by many people all over the world.